Through the dark we will be riding dust till dawn, dust till dawn.
Hey, hope you're all doing great today. We're about 2 weeks past Maah Daah Hey. I got a lot of thoughts. So why don't we just roll some footage? I'll talk over it and kind of go through race review and final thoughts. We'll also compare it to Leadville and the Marji. I'll put the comparison video, my past comparison video, in the bottom if you want to reference that. But this is definitely one of the most beautiful and unique races I've ever done. Here we go. All right, so let's start out the journey down in Madison, Wisconsin. We took the first leg up to Bismarck, and in this video, we're going to move quick and try to cover as much territory as I can. But if you got any specific questions, please hit them in the comments, and I'll get back to you if I don't answer what you're kind of trying to get out of this. Anyways, stopped in Bismarck, North Dakota for the first night. Went out, grabbed some food, some brews at the local brewery, and of course a speakeasy for good measure, because why wouldn't you? Anyways, got up the next morning relatively early, packed up, went all the way to the river crossings, that second X right there. Pulled in, and you move from kind of the plains into the Badlands, and they develop and they come up, and you go, holy cow, I will be riding through this tomorrow. It is gorgeous. It was a little windy, had to check the wind. It wasn't a huge factor on race day, but we were concerned at this point. Made it down to the river crossing. You can see JP there up to his knees. Looks like he was getting some footage. What you don't see is the truck next to us with tires covered in mud. So we decided, hey, we're not crossing the river on race day. Take the race director's advice there. Went back up to the trailhead before we checked in and got some footage. As you can see, I got my camera on, and that's what you're going to see today. Took a nice shakeout ride, about an hour, and then went up to the Roosevelt Hotel where we checked in. All right, and here is the relive of the day. We're just going to start out with it. So the first part, you're going to start to see video from the never-ending switchbacks, and then we get into the only gravel section. They had to reroute us around. So it's about 8 miles of gravel, nice and easy. Brian did a lot of pulling, appreciate him for that. And then into it. We stopped at the first aid station where we had a drop bag, and then proceeded through the first section. A lot of climbing, you're still fresh, took in a lot of nutrition, really enjoyed that view through the entire thing, still loving it. Came in through here. This is where we met up with our crew, and they kept repping the Hammer banner for us, which I greatly appreciate. Thanks again to Hammer Nutrition for the sponsorship every year. Really enjoying being part of their Legacy Athlete program. Been with them for many years now. Coming through, this is a little video of probably the punchiest climb coming up. We're looking at, to get up it, it was about 750 watts for about 30 seconds. Decided since people were watching, we're going to burn those matches. It was a lot of fun. Brian decided that he was not burning matches, and I appreciate that decision. But that was a nice, steep, little punchy one. A lot of punchy climbs through this. And I'm going to tell you, if you're going to practice one thing for the Maah Daah Hey, it's going to be switchbacks, because that was the reoccurring theme, is you switch back up, you switch back down. Those bluffs are steep. There was one point where I came around and looked down, and it must have been 100 feet down from the edge of that switchback, and it was tight. It's probably the closest I came to eating it. But anyways, we made it through in 13 and a half hours. Our move time was about 12. We spent a ton of time just messing around out there. Had a great time. So this is us at the morning of, and here we are at the never-ending switchbacks. Now, I think when it comes to this race, a few things I would like to mention about the course. It is, this year, I'd say over 90% single track. We did have that little gravel section, but the rest of it is truly a mountain bike race. You're talking about, a lot of clay terrain. Everything that you're seeing here looks pretty similar throughout. You'd see sections of this, you'd have nice valleys, but the turf itself is pretty much baked clay. And I think this race in particular is probably the most variable when it comes to weather. Stuff like riding in Michigan or out in Colorado, The soil is really kind of sandy, rocky where it drains well. This stuff, when it gets wet, it just becomes peanut butter mud. And all the banks were like that. I think we spent a lot of time, anywhere it was wet, trying to figure out how we were to navigate around. Because once you step in it, it gets locked into your cleats, it gets into your pedals. It is just mucky. So I carried my bike through as much of it as I could, because you definitely want to spare your drivetrain and trying to get that stuff off. We were blessed with a relatively cool year. I think the high was like 90. You could feel it on some of those facing buttes, though. Like, you just feel the heat radiating off the clay midday on top of, the sun beating you down. So you're getting heat from both directions. And it did warm up. But, like I said, in the morning it was overcast and 60, so we could put out power. Midday got up there a little bit, but it was never anything too rough. As far as kit goes, you'll notice I was wearing long sleeves, and it's a very lightweight long sleeve. You can actually see through it if you hold it up to the light, but it protects the skin because there is no reprieve from the sun. You have little sections through the trees, little wooded sections, but you're only talking, a couple 100 yards. It's not much. So every time we stopped in an aid station, our crew had chairs ready for us. They had ice ready for us. We would sit down, throw some ice around the neck, get something cold, and they would, refuel our bottles and whatever else we needed. For the most part, a lot of liquid nutrition. I had 2 bottles of sports drink Heed in my frame. My hydration pack was just water, but we kept throwing ice in it, so it was ice cold. Oftentimes, when I was starting to feel kind of crummy, I'd suck the stuff right out of the straw, spit it out, and then suck through that ice water. It was great to cool down with. I had a flask of maple syrup because I like maple syrup and it makes me happy, and that's why I drank it. Plus, it's a ton of calories packed in. You can get some potassium and stuff. I do like gels. I had some gels on me. It's nice to have a couple of packs on me. I had hammer bars. I ate a fair bit of those. Nice dense nutrition, and we definitely tried to front load it through the first section because it was a little bit easier, especially when you're on gravel roads a few miles in. Start hammering nutrition because you're not going to catch up. If you bonk, you trying to recover from that stuff is always rough. And I'll tell you, even when I was having a little bit of a rough day, mid race, the heat's, started to, got a little warmer. I started to feel a little nauseous. My crew knew how I was feeling. I'd sit down and they'd be like, "Hey, you need some fluid, you need some food. What do you want?" We had chips and all the kind of junk foods you want for salty. I always kept a small thing of salt on me as well, some salt tabs, which came into play as well. But I think when you're looking at a race like this, it is super important and it is emphasized to have a crew that knows you. It was pretty clutch, to be able to sit down and just have everyone running and being able to do what I needed and be able to monitor the situation. They met us, like I said, at Aid 2, and then they jumped from there. So we had our drop bag at Aid 1, so they didn't have to cross the river. They went around, met them at Aid 2, and then they hopped from every aid and checkpoint thereafter. So we were only without crew in between those sections, and seeing someone every little bit was awesome. As far as unanticipated things, I would say the one thing was cows. I knew there would be cows. I didn't realize there would be much cow dung. So we did dodge a lot of fresh cow pies here and there. I highly suggest doing the same if you're riding. The old ones are fine. You can just pop over those. But I did catch a tire in some cow dung, and when you get hit in the face and you don't know if it's mud or dung, it's always fun to question that for a half a mile. In the morning, when we were going up the never-ending switchbacks, the cows were out and mooing at us. I feel like maybe they were booing because we disturbed their morning. Sounded a whole lot like boo rather than moo. But, they let us through totally fine. As far as the gates, they do get heavier. I swear there are some that are on uphills and the springs are a little bit tougher. You do get a workout. So, plan for that. Little little lifting never hurt anyone. And working as a team to get through those is really nice. Here, Brian and I are coming across the finish line, and we missed our high five, but we crossed and we had a great time. So here we are at the finish, all smiles. And here is our crew. So there's me, Brian, our spouses, and my dad. He was actually on another trip and made a detour after it to come visit. And I think, throwing up at the beginning, the the quote from Micah True really captured the whole race for me. Riding with someone through this countryside it can't be overstated how gorgeous and how much that impacts you. Every time I started to feel a little crummy, I would look out and go, oh my God, this is beautiful. You start to realize how brutal and desolate it is too. I think we saw prairie dogs and that was it. Thank goodness, no danger noodles, but absolutely gorgeous out there. Let's get some thoughts in about the differences between the Maah Daah Hey, Leadville, and the Marji. 3 totally different races, even though the climbing elevation and the lengths are about the same. Personally, I think I love the Maah Daah Hey the most. I'm just going to say it, and I wish I had more time to talk about that race. I think I could have taken 12 hours. But let's go through the relive of Leadville. I would consider this more of a gravel plus race. You're seeing a lot of pros starting to move into gravel bars, and I don't think that a lot of amateurs should, but I think that if you have great bike handling skills, there's enough flat and road in this to make it worthwhile. You're going to have trouble on Powerline, St. Kevin's, and the Goat Trail. I think the one big aspect of this race is the elevation. That is your big fight. You're just way up there and the air is thin if you're not acclimated like I wasn't. I came out a week early and it was still rough when I was up at 13,000 feet. Now, the feel of this race, I think, is changed over the years. It started out as a race, foot race to save Leadville, and there's still some of those undertones. But, Lifetime's taken it over, and Leadville itself has expanded. On the way out, we were looking at condo prices, and you're looking at $850,000 for condos in Leadville. This is not the Save the Town event it once was, in my opinion. It's more of a corporate feel, and I think Ken and Marilee do a really good job of maintaining that original vibe from it, but it's definitely changed. I don't know if I would take the time to really pursue going back out there. I'd like to break that 9 hours, but overall, I think it's an awesome race. You're fighting the altitude on this one, though. Marji, on the other hand, is super technical. So you're looking at the UP of Michigan. I think out of the 3 races, this has the most technical sections, but that's by design. I would say this has the feel of a mountain bike race meets adventure race. The race director is taking you up enduro runs. I still want to go down Zugs one day. I've only tried climbing up it. And by climbed, I mean there are definitely sections in that I had to walk. And there are a lot of sections in this that you have to walk. The race director is on the opposite side of both those 2 races, where he makes it as hard as possible from start to finish this race. You're talking about false checkpoints. You're talking about fake GPX files leading up to it. Pro tip, if you do want to race the 100, just wait till people are dumping their registrations in August. If you can't get in right away, there will be plenty of registrations available. I don't know about the shorter races, but definitely the 100, you see them beginning August, just getting dumped. I do love this race. I think twice was plenty. I think there's a lot of other great races out there. But for the most part, this is 2 and done for me. But as far as lining up races, I think the Marji and the Maah Daah Hey are probably the hardest. I think it highly depends on the year with the Maah Daah Hey. We got a great year, but if I was out there in 100-degree weather, I would have been struggling a lot. So I think that's kind of it. I'm gonna leave you with this final climb. We kind of breezed over it a little bit. Overall, this was probably my favorite race I've ever participated in. If you have the availability and this is something that interests you, get your crew together, train hard, watch the videos. The Stable Cyclist has a ton of content out there, and heed what he says. Be prepared for the heat. Know it's backcountry, and it is unforgiving terrain. Other than that, thanks for watching the videos. Appreciate the couple of people that said, hey, they've seen them on the trail. It was huge for me. And keep the rubber side down, you guys. Keep her going.